Let's call this meeting to order. Rita, would you do a roll call?
Commissioner Rahman,
Here.
Commissioner Williams,
Here.
Commissioner Bottenberg, Commissioner Hefner,
Here.
Commissioner Martin, and is Commissioner Mishra, is Commissioner Mishra on the line? No, okay, thank you.
We are expecting someone to be online.
Commissioner Mishra, so yeah, we've reached out to her and we'll look out for her.
All right. Well, Commissioner Hefner, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Has everyone had a chance to look at the agenda? Is there a motion to approve today's agenda? Thank you, Commissioner Bottenberg. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Rahman. Approval of the minutes. You had a chance to read them?
Chair, if I may,
Yes.
we needed to take the vote for that motion. We had a first and a second.
Thank you.
No problem.
All in favor of approving the agenda?
Aye.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes. Have we had a chance to read them? I hear a motion to approve the minutes of February 12th meeting. Thank you, Commissioner Bottenberg. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Williams. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Oh, is there any discussion on the minutes of last month? No. Okay, no discussion. All in favor of approving the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Is there any public comment for tonight's meeting?
Yes, Chair, there is. Signed, yep.
How do we? Will they be? I'm just listening. Yeah, they're right here in the. Oh, our guests. Yes, yes, of course. Mhm.
Just on here.
Good evening, Human Services Commission. My name is Florence Chiang, and this is Felicia Chiang, and we're both from the Lens of Youth. So the Lens of Youth is a nonprofit organization that advocates for all people with developmental disabilities, and all of our volunteers are from Sammamish. So some things we do is for two types of activities, starting with community outreach through the Sammamish, Issaquah cities, and the Issaquah School Foundation and other nonprofit organizations through our photography, so we can advocate our missions, and programs such as a holiday party that we do yearly for the developmental disability community, and we had about 50 this year. and we collaborate with ICANN, the local therapy center for autism. And we also go to this organization called the Circle Monthly to help with their arts and crafts activity. And we also have this project called We Care, We Capture, where we give free senior photos for our LRC2 classrooms. And we're here to present misunderstood moments, which is another type of activity we want to do. So to start off this project introduction, I want to do a little story that comes from this project. It's from people who actually have developmental disabilities. So one day, there's little boys. Sorry, there were a group of moms sitting in their living room chatting. There was a baby on the couch. And one day, the host son comes home from school and promptly walks through the moms to the living room. They suddenly hear a screaming. It's the baby. Apparently, it had been woken up by the boy who just stood there motionless. The boy seemed to be crestfallen, and the moms quickly packed up and left, leaving the host mom embarrassed. So, how do you think the boy's mom felt? How do you think the boy felt? Why do you think he did it? So, please keep this in mind, and we'll come back to it at the end of our thing. Oh, the reason why we want to do this project called Misunderstood Moments is basically because we want to promote empathy and shift the public perception of the people of what they have on the developmental disability community. People with developmental disabilities are often thought to be doing something wrong when rather their behavior is just misunderstood. Change starts with understanding. So by giving the real reason behind their misunderstood moments, people can be more inclusive and understand them more. The way we plan to do this is we can get 50 real life stories from the developmental disability community that are going to be drawn by artists. We will have exhibitions in libraries, seminars in schools, and have exhibition at corporations and have online campaigns. And this target is to everyone, and this is not just a one-time campaign, it is a movement to a more inclusive society. Okay, so here is where we need your help. We hope we can have any feedback about this project, and also since our missions align, we hope to get collaboration with you. That would be great. And finally, we're not sure if we missed the funding opportunity for 2025 through 2026. So thank you. How do you close? And back to the story. The reason why the boy woke up the baby was because, as a family house rule, the mom had taught him that it was rude to watch TV while people were sleeping. So he thought the only way to solve this problem was to wake up the baby, and which caused a lot of confusion with other people. And today we actually spoke to Council Member O'Farrell, and she said she has a child with autism, and she said she also felt many moments like this before, and also had not had the energy to advocate for herself because autism to herself was a new thing. So with our project, we hope that we can save energy and also do this for them, to advocate for them, so we can also help them out in the process of also creating more understanding. Thank you.
Thank you. On to our new business. We have Rose Weicker from City Sustainability Coordinator.
Thank you all for having me here today. I'm just going to take a brief moment to pull up my presentation. All right. For those of you I have not met, again, my name is Rose Weicker. I am the Sustainability Coordinator here with the city. I work with our Sustainability Commission, and I work out of the City Manager's office, so I get to work with all of the different departments on a number of different sustainability initiatives throughout the city, everything from fleet electrification to taking care of our trees, as well as some really exciting programs that we've been able to stand up following the adoption of our climate action plan at the end of 2023. So today we're focusing specifically on some climate-related resilience programs that we have available for our residents. I want to start with a little bit of level setting, so where this work comes from. Obviously, Sammamish is one city, surrounded by a larger region on the east side of King County. We were one of the later cities to adopt a climate action plan. And as part of the adoption of our climate action plan, we joined this wonderful initiative and partnership called the East Side Climate Partnership. So this was made up of our neighboring cities of Bellevue, Issaquah, Kirkland, Mercer Island, and Redmond. One of the requirements to join this climate partnership was the adoption of a climate action plan and the creation of the Sustainability Commission. So we've been really excited to work with our partner cities on a number of initiatives focused on resiliency, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, lowering carbon footprints, and preparing both people and the environment for the effects of climate change. This partnership has been really wonderful for the city because we have limited staff available to dedicate towards this work. So there's just me working on sustainability right now, and that is the case with some of our neighboring cities as well. And so being able to pool our resources, share knowledge, share resources, for example, funding, coordinating on grant applications, and expanding the reach of these programs to all residents of the East Side. We recognize that a number of our residents work in one city and might live in a different city and shop in another city. And so there's a lot of overlap here and a lot of ability to scale up some of the impacts of these programs. So that's where a lot of this work is originating from and has allowed us to scale up for some of these programs that I'll be talking to you about in just a couple slides. Today, we're focusing on climate resilience. So this is how we adapt, respond, and prepare to climate disasters. The recent bomb cyclone is a great example of this. Sammamish was not the only city affected. A lot of our neighboring cities were affected, and resources were shared across cities, you know, whether that's folks going to a grocery store that has power or going to their friends and neighbors and providing some support. So two really great systems that help promote climate resilience are heat pumps and solar arrays. Specifically looking at heat pumps, these are really wonderful electric systems that reduce your greenhouse gas emissions. So that's reducing the amount of harmful particulates that are going into the air that we breathe, and also reducing some of the carbon from the production of natural gas. Heat pumps are great for climate resilience because they also provide air conditioning. So in some of those really hot summer months, a heat pump will not only warm your home in the winter, but it will also cool your home in the summer. They're incredibly energy efficient, more so than an electric furnace. So you're going to be reducing your emissions overall, and over time also lowering your energy bills. So there's an economic incentive there as well. And they're just generally good for some of these extreme temperatures that we've seen in recent years. Regarding solar, this is another really great resource. Solar is 100% renewable. It's energy that's coming from the sun, and it can reduce your energy demand because you are generating your own electricity on your home. And you can even make a little bit of money back if you have excess energy generated that can be sold back to the grid, or stored if you have a battery energy storage system in your home for those potential power outages that we've seen in recent months. Both of these can be expensive, and there are some barriers to adoption, both the technical aspects of finding the proper contractor, getting your funding together, understanding what heat pump or solar array might be the best fit for your home, or if your home is even compatible with either of these systems to begin with. So recognizing the really great benefits of each of these systems, both heat pumps and solar, but also recognizing that there are some pretty significant barriers to some folks in being able to install these in their homes. We've created some really great programs with the help of that East Side Climate Partnership. I want to pause on this slide because I recognize some folks might not be familiar with heat pumps or solar. So if there are any specific questions that I can answer before I move on to the incentive programs that we have, I want to give time for that. Pretty straightforward. Okay, great. I'm so glad. Yeah, some folks have never heard about heat pumps before, but they're basically like a giant refrigerating system in your house that turns hot air into cold air or cold air into hot air, and just moves air around from the inside to the outside to get those even temperatures. So, looking at heat pumps specifically for this first slide, we have this really great program called Energy Smart East Side. This is a program that is a partnership between all 6 of those cities that I had mentioned on a previous slide, and it provides information about heat pumps at the most basic level. So there's a lot of information on the website. There's also webinars that happen periodically, informational videos, and some step-by-step processes online that residents are able to access. We also provide some incentives as part of this program, and these are income qualified incentives to try to help folks bridge that gap in affordability. If your gas furnace goes out, for example, looking at kind of bridging that gap between the added costs that it might take to upgrade to a heat pump and trying to help folks kind of, like I said, bridge that gap in funding so that they can afford this more efficient and healthier system. Heat pumps also provide air filtration during the summertime. So some of those really heavy smoke days that we've seen from wildfires in the past, heat pumps can actually provide air filtration for your entire home. There's 3 different tiers of this program, and this program is year-long, continuing into the future. All you have to do is go to the website and sign up. The Boost program is covered 100% of the install cost for a heat pump. So these heat pump systems can range, depending on the size of your house, anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000. So this is a really huge incentive program, and it's for folks that are below that 80% area median income. That's really wonderful. We do have a wait list for this program because we have limited amounts of funding and installers that we can work with. So we recommend, if you are interested in qualified for the Boost program, getting on that list sooner rather than later. We have a new cohort that will be starting in April, so we're really wanting to get that word out now. In addition to the full cost install, we also have a fuel switch incentive. So this is for those moderate income folks below 150% AMI. That's a little bit of that's a reduced incentive, but still a pretty good chunk of change there with $6,000 available. There's some rebates that will stack on top of that. So you could get up to $8,600 as things stand currently. Certain funding cycles and grant availability is in flux right now. So when you apply, you'll get some more specific information from program staff. And then everyone, regardless of income, is eligible for up to $500 of manufacturing discounts. And then everyone is also able to access the free technical assistance available. We have one-on-one calls with energy advisors, as well as community workshops, and then those online webinars. So upcoming here in just a couple weeks, on March 26th, we will have an in-person workshop available for Sammamish residents at City Hall from 6:30 to 8 p.m. We'll have some solar installers available there to help answer questions, meet with folks, share a little bit more about solar. Share a little bit more about heat pumps. We also have a solar workshop, so I'll be getting to that in the next slide. But we'll have a heat pump installer and Energy Smart East Side program staff available to share information, answer questions, and give a brief overview of how a heat pump can improve your energy efficiency of your home and also your comfortability. Any questions on this first one? Yes, I do have those numbers on a different. Yeah, so for 150, I will circle back at the end here for questions when I can actually pull up my notes and get the specific numbers. It does go up one family or a 1-person household, 2-person household, 3-person household, and 4-person household. But this specific information is available on the website as well. Yeah, I'll grab that for you at the end. Any other questions?
Do you know how many people have heat pumps in Sammamish?
Yeah, so I don't have the exact number, but I know that we have a pretty high adoption rate already, which is really great. We're at over 65% of new permit information. So if someone is getting a new system or altering an old system, folks 65% of the time are going with these heat pump systems. So that's a really great adoption rate, but we also recognize that a lot of folks in the city have the income that is able to get them the ability to purchase these heat pumps. And so we're really trying to fill that gap for our lower income residents who might not be able to upgrade or might be struggling with that decision. So we're trying to fill that gap for that remaining 35%. Yeah. All right. And moving on to Solarize. So Energy Smart Eastside does have those different tiers for the different income brackets. Solarize is available to everyone, which is really great. So this is a shorter term program happening. It just launched March 1st, and it will be signups will be available through July 4th. We're working, we being the 6 Eastside cities, are working with Olympia Community Solar, which is a local nonprofit. And we are basically doing a group purchasing model. So this is that time limited period for folks to sign up. And we have some trusted local installers that were vetted for their materials that they're using, and then also the lower costs for residents. And they're able to provide some lower rates for folks, both for the install and for the price per kilowatt hour. And then they're offering free home assessments. So whether you choose to move forward with solar or not, I encourage everyone that is able to sign up for a free home assessment to get a better idea of whether your home will be a good fit for solar. And if not, what some potential alternatives would be. But a lot of folks might think, oh, my home is under some trees. Oh, I have this facing of my house, and think, oh, I'm not even going to try. But I really encourage everyone to take advantage of these free home assessments so that you have that answer for sure. There's a lot of hearsay that solar doesn't work in Washington because of the cloudy days, but solar actually is very productive. Year round, it just has some fluctuation in those specific levels. So we do encourage folks to sign up, and you might get a much better return than you were expecting. And then you don't have to pay for that assessment along the way. So whether you're ready to move forward with solar now or later, you can at least have that idea of what would be a good fit for your home. We also have some community workshops for solar coming up in April and May as part of this work. So these will also be held at Sammamish City Hall. We'll have some solar installers and solarized staff available to answer questions, help folks sign up for these free home assessments, and get a little bit more information on specific pricing, as well as answer general questions.
Could I have a question?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what's the discount, general discount for being part of this group purchase?
I would say it definitely depends on the size of array that you're getting. There are a couple different tiers of like how massive your solar array is, but it is a discounted price per watt comparatively to what the market rate is. And then there's also some specific discounts. We're working with 6 different installers, so it does fluctuate a little bit. So I can't answer that specifically, but if you attend this workshop, they'll be able to give you some more specific numbers. They're the experts. Okay. And let me get those numbers for you, Joyce.
And Rose, if you're unable to get the numbers right now, we can also email those to the commissioners later on this evening or tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I
yeah.
did put them on the slide here,
Okay,
just the
great.
way that I was screen sharing. I didn't have a way to view that. So this shows the 120% numbers, so 150% would, of course, be a little bit higher. So for a family of 4, to answer your question, it would be about $117,000. And I do encourage you to reach out specifically on the Energy Smart Eastside page as well. I did pull these numbers from 2024, so they might have fluctuated slightly in 2025. But the program staff are the ones who have the specifics here. Yes, yeah, we have had some folks signed up. For signups or for the actual installs themselves? Yeah, I can get those numbers and have them sent out after the fact to the commission if you want. We did do a presentation to council in early February, late January, talking through, we gave kind of a snapshot of the past couple months of Energy Smart Eastside and where our numbers are at. unfortunately don't have them off the top of my head, but it gives a great comparison of where Sammamish is at compared to some of our partner cities. And it does break down the specific income levels as well. Yeah, so I can include that presentation in the email attachment if you'd like.
Can I just very quickly, sorry for interrupting. When you speak, can you just press the button? Thank you.
Of course. Heat pumps,
Yeah.
are they available to people who live in a townhouse or your only freestanding homes?
Yeah, so heat pumps are available for renters as well. This program specifically is targeting homeowners because if you're renting, you are not the one who's actually making changes to the home. There are a couple different sizes and systems. So some are going to be more ducted, some are going to be outside. It really would depend on the specific kind of structure of your home, if that makes sense, because different townhomes might be situated differently.
About a year ago, Costco had a real special for do-it-yourself heat pumps. For under $2,000, you could put in one for I think it was about 1,000 square foot home.
That's great.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna do it again.
Yeah, I mean, there's mini splits which allow you to kind of control the temperature in each individual room. Those are great for larger houses or specifically smaller spaces as well. Yeah. There's some really great testimonials online as well from folks who have had heat pumps and are sharing their experience with comfortability, cost savings, et cetera, on that Energy Smart Eastside website as well.
I can speak to that as having both a heat pump and solar panels. It's great to have those low payments as well as the air filtering, something you wouldn't have thought about, but it's really nice when we have our fires and smoke. You know, we don't have to keep the windows closed. I mean, we can have fresh air and it doesn't stink.
Yeah, that's great. That's exactly what we're going for there is both human health and environmental health.
Yeah.
For sure.
The amount is for the install, not for permitting, correct?
For heat pumps? Yes, that is just for the install. But oftentimes your installer will kind of include and work through that process with you.
So for the installation of the solar panels, does it have to be on the roof, or can it be, or does it have to be a part of the home? Or can you just like walk me through what the installation process is?
Yeah, so for solar panels, we're looking specifically at roof arrays. I think that would be a great question to bring to the community workshop. I don't know off the top of my head whether they would allow kind of like a freestanding system or if you had like a large yard.
Yeah.
I don't see why not, but I don't know the specifics.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great questions, everyone. Thank you. And I will get out those Energy Smart Eastside program statistics to Rita to send out after the fact. Great. Well, thank you, everyone. Please feel free to follow up if you have any other questions.
Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is hearing from some newly funded grant programs. The Links Buddy Program and Bright Spark. Introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Victoria Gitzy Nelson, and I manage the Links Lunch Buddy program for the Lake Washington School District.
Good evening. I'm Janine Myers. I am one of the directors at Bright Spark Early Learning Services. Formerly, we were Child Care Resources, so we just had our name change a couple years ago, so it might be more familiar to some of you. And I am sharing with you tonight about our Holding Hope program, which is infant early childhood mental health consultation.
Do you want me to go first? Okay. I have some folders of information that I'm going to pass around for each of you because there's a lot of information and a very short time to share it. So I have the information prepared for you that there's information, an overview of the program. We are a Lake Washington School District program, and we are funded. We've been generously funded since the beginning of time of this program from the Lake Washington Schools Foundation. The Lunch Buddy program is a mentoring program in our elementary schools. We have 15 schools that are in the program. We have a long waiting list for schools that are waiting for the program. Probably many of you are aware just of all of the benefits of mentoring. We have mentoring in the workplace. We have mentoring in our schools professionally, and there's lots of informal mentoring programs for kids. And so the mentoring program that we have in our elementary schools it's one-to-one mentoring where mentors will come in once a week and meet with students. There's a one-to-one relationship. It starts at the beginning of the year. We meet until June when school's done. And that relationship it's a social emotional relationship. Kids are referred to the program by staff because staff recognize that kids are struggling in some kind of way, and they see that the mentoring could be beneficial. And so the students are referred. There are goals that go along with every student, but they're the secondary goal, or it could be the primary goal of every student, is that friendship, that adult friendship that students get when someone comes in and meets with them each week. We know that we want we know that mentoring helps students um, with attendance. There's improvements with attendance, grades improve, relationships improve, and it's that extra support that comes in that kids we understand that kids need to be seen and they need to be heard and they understand their value, and how we do that is through mentoring. The mentors that are come into our schools are family members. They could be staff. They could be community members that really don't have any relationship with our schools. They are completely vetted. They go through the district application process, which does a background check on them. They fill out a mentor application, which asks lots of different questions about mentors, because that's what we use to match mentors with students, that information. And there's a 2.5-hour orientation that mentors go through with me, and that includes staff. And through that orientation, they learn about the school district, they learn about the developmental approach to mentoring. That's the approach that we use in our Lunch Buddy program. And the focus is on having fun. It's about listening to students, having students have some voice and some choice in the things they want to do. Because we know when students have some input, if they get to decide the things they want to do, if they get to talk about the things they want to talk about, they see value. They understand that what they're thinking and what they're feeling is important. And that helps their self-esteem. I know I was a very short amount of time, and I know you might probably have some questions, but there is also information in your packet about the demographics of the students that are in the program. All of that information is there. The other information that I've included is information. Every year I survey staff to see if we are obtaining the goals that they put forward for these children that are in the program. I survey students because we want to hear their voice in what's going on, the things that they are doing, and mentors. We want to make sure that we are meeting mentors' expectations. We want to make sure that what they're getting out of what they need to be, and making sure that they are supported. We know that if mentors are having fun with their students, students are having fun, those connections, that relationship is deeper and stronger, and kids get more supported. So all of that information is in your folder. Any questions? I was trying to keep on timer.
When did Samantha Smith get added? Was that recent?
No, Samantha Smith has been a part of, actually no, probably 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Actually, Marcus, I do a lot of work with Mentor Washington. One of the reasons they hired me is to bring the Lunch Buddy the mentoring program up to national standards. And so last year, Samantha Smith, one of your residents, Marcus, he was voted, he got the Brad Owen Mentor Washington of the Year award for his work that he did at Samantha Smith with a very young little boy who has had a very difficult life, but the impact that he made with him. And that's one of your residents. I do. I work with all of the other school district program managers. Mhm. Mm. Mhm.
I'm actually curious, like, why did you guys decide to have?
The reason we do it at lunch, there's several different reasons, but we lunch and recess, it's a combined time in our elementary schools. And so that's when we have the kids have the most free time. The other impacts about doing it at lunch, there's just these this calmness that, because mentors we provide a free lunch. Well, I guess it's donated by Sodexo, but for mentors, because eating together with that student, it helps your student feel more comfortable. And that's that natural conversation that happens around your dinner table. We talk about the importance just of families eating together. And that's not any different of building that relationship with that little person. So you're eating something, they're eating something, you're playing a game, and there's just comfortableness that happens around food and doing something. You're both doing something at the same time. Mm-hmm.
What's the retention rate like from mentors from year to year? Are you retaining more? And I see these numbers are 22, 23. What is the numbers like coming in?
Absolutely. So every year we have more people. I had 115 mentors that returned from last year. And I had 215 mentors in total last year. We always have more kids referred to the program than we have mentors. We're always looking for mentors. Students get referred, all throughout the year. I get referrals from staff in June, even though we ended in June, but for the next school year. And I am 12 months a year always looking for mentors for our
How do you
local.
recruit for them?
Say that
How
again?
do you recruit for them?
Several different ways. So talking to organizations, we use Peach Jar a lot. So Peach Jar goes out to all of the families that are in the district. Mentors, I ask mentors to share the information, not any specifics because that's confidential, but just sharing their experience. And I'm always asking mentors because we'll have maybe a particular student that's been waiting, and maybe there's particular maybe the student doesn't speak English, for example. So there are some reasons that students are referred to the program that are a huge priority, and not speaking English is one of those huge priorities that we really try to rush on. So I will reach out to mentors and say, we have a student at Samantha Smith that doesn't speak English. They speak Portuguese. And, if you know of anyone, could you share this information with your coworkers and your neighbors? And so I reach out and I ask mentors to reach out. And then there's just people at different organizations like Microsoft and Amazon that are more connected. They are not connected like to whole organizations, but they're connected to groups. And so I'll reach out to them and I'll ask them to share. We do, so not with the city of Sammamish, which I need to work on, but through the city of Redmond, they put in their volunteer newsletter that every time that it goes out, they put information. And so does the city of Kirkland. They do it through the Parks Department. They do it through the volunteer department. So the cities share information, which I'm hoping to get Sammamish to do also, because it is a program, the school district program, and it's the kids. It's not, and there's all of these unintended. I'm sorry, I'm taking up time, so I'll stop because I want to be mindful of everybody. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
Ask questions. Good evening. So Holding Hope is Bright Spark and Child Care Aware of Washington's infant early childhood mental health program. And we are dedicated to supporting young children, families, and early learning providers. So our team this year has increased. We had 4 mental health consultants for a couple of years while the program was being developed. And this year, we were able to receive funding to bring on uh, a total of, we have 9 mental health consultants, which is great. It's a lot compared to many of the regions in our state. However, when you think about the need in the state, it's small. So we did reach out to cities and our partner communities to offer these services a little more broadly. And so we're very excited to be partnering with Sammamish and offering some of our services. So our team offers reflective practices, classroom observations, mental health consultation, where they work with families and providers and to co-create strategies to strengthen the emotional well-being in early childhood settings. So our goal is to create nurturing, trauma-informed, and inclusive environments where children can thrive socially and emotionally. Um, why is it important? Because it is a really critical time for brain development, birth to 5 specifically, also for their social emotional learning and their relationship building. So supporting mental health in early learning settings can reduce challenging behaviors, enhance school readiness, and foster long-term well-being. And it's not exclusively about addressing challenges, but also about promoting resilience in our youngest learners, right? Through strong attachment, through reducing our staff burnout. And I don't know if you've heard, in your positions here, the challenges that our early learning communities are facing in staffing. It's tough. But so that also helps reduce our staff burnout, creating workforce stabilization, which is super important, and healthy social emotional development for the children that are in the care. One of the big impacts that we are seeing, and I'm sure, well, I hope that you've heard a little bit about the frightening results of our earliest and youngest learners having the highest rates of expulsion from early learning, expulsion and suspension in early learning programs. And by addressing this, which I had a wonderful conversation in the hallway with someone asking, like, how do you identify kids that young? And it's not that we're identifying kids as having a this or a that. Rather, when they're expressing emotional challenges or having behavioral concerns, their teachers reach out to us and say, I don't know what to do. And we're able to either send coaches in or our mental health consultants to observe, to dig a little bit deeper, and to support the teacher in the classroom or in the family home, and then support with that going forward as far as helping to create change, whether it's in the environment, whether it's in addressing specific needs, connecting with families, and connecting those families and care providers with other referral and resource opportunities. So, yeah, so just part of what we do is building our community capacity through some training opportunities that we share and collaboration over compliance. It's not about making the kids get along, it's about understanding where they are and how best to meet their needs, building those relationships and strengthening the skills of our early learning workforce. And so in order for you to engage, for our providers to engage with our Holding Hope team, for our providers are encouraged, and we share materials with all the licensed childcare providers, whether they're center-based or family home centers, to join reflective practice groups. They're able to request consultations, or if they are working with early learning coaches through the Early Achievers program, they're also able to work with coaches and attend professional development opportunities. Families are able to seek support in understanding their child development, their behavioral concerns, and the transitions from, through their child's milestones and whether they're hitting them or not. And for our community partners, they're able to collaborate with us to expand access and to advocate for policies that support our youngest learners. Talked really fast. This is King and Pierce County that we offer these services to. We work specifically right now with licensed childcare providers And those that are licensed and accept working connection subsidies also have, well, all licensed providers have access to our coaching services, particularly those who are participating in working connections childcare subsidies, because they're required to participate in quality improvement. And so it's kind of part and parcel in supporting the whole program, making sure that children receive high quality educations.
With 9 consultants?
What? No, we have, so our early childhood, our mental health consultants, we have 9.
Okay.
We have over 50 coaches. Yeah. So it's in partnership.
Did this program specifically work with children in childcare or preschool, or are they birth to 3 years or birth to 5?
This program focuses primarily birth to 3. However, they have siblings and, you know, and so they're not exclusionary. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't talk to, you know, it's the family, it's the child and the impact that it has, you know, in any kind of situations like that. It's more than just the one person. It takes the family and then the community that they're in, that childcare program that they're involved with, the family, the teachers, so on.
And didn't you say that if the child is having behavioral problems and needs this kind of mental health support, if they don't receive it, they're often kicked out of their
Oftentimes it's
childcare,
true,
right?
yeah.
And then that's a burden on the parents again.
It is, and it creates just all kinds of other traumas because why can't I stay at that program? That's where my friends are, you know, and then it's the hunt for another program. And we do have our statewide call center is also within our agency. And so that's another way we're able to support families. Sometimes we get a call and there's like, my kid just got kicked out of daycare. What can I do? And so we help them locate other programs, but we also connect them with our mental health consultants. And so say, you know, hey, what's going on? How can we help make this transition into another program maybe more successful? Any other questions? Thank you so much. We're so excited to be a
Thank
part
you.
this year.
Jamie, I worked for CCR for 3 years.
You did?
Yeah,
Oh, my goodness.
back in the Nina Arbeck days,
Okay, I know.
and Deanne and all that.
Okay, yeah. I've been there just almost 10 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
They don't have the staff list on the website anymore. It was so much fun.
Oh, we have over 145 people on staff now.
Is it still family versus provider? I mean,
We've blended.
okay.
We are early learning services department. Provider services and family services.
Very good. Thanks for the catching up.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Then, yeah. Hello, and now we're going to hear from Domestic Abuse Women's Network and the Issaquah Food Bank Case Management Service Program.
I work for the Domestic Abuse Women's Network, but we call it DAWN for short. And that is also, it's also very intentional because they're survivors of every gender. So we want to make sure that even though it says Women's Network, it is. I would like to just share a little bit. This is what the flyers look like when we have them. Really good, oh, let me just the program. Thank you. We basically ran out of flyers this last time because we're going to tabling events all over King County. But just to give you an idea, also all this information is in our website. I am Director of Programs here at Dawn. I started as an immigrant advocate 5.5 years ago with Dawn as the bilingual immigrant advocate, and now as a Director of Programs. I just want to make
we all just want to make sure, even though we're a small group, we have a shelter with 5 people, 5 advocates, and we have about 8 to 10 advocates. So we served about 1,800 people last year. And so let me just share a little bit about all the programs that we have. As you all may have heard, domestic violence is a problem in the community for us. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men identify as survivors of domestic violence. And so our efforts are to anybody who identifies as a survivor. So we have a 24-hour support line. We have access to interpreters, anybody can call. Even if you may not be located in King, we get a lot of calls from Pierce County, from Snohomish. We will just provide information to anybody. We also choose to call it advocacy line because actually don't know if they're going through domestic violence and they want to talk to somebody about what does it look like, what are my options, and we will work with people either if they are still with their abuser, and if they choose to stay with the abuser, if they just left, which is one of the most vulnerable times in somebody's life when they left their abuser, or 5, 10, 20 years later, if they decide to work with us. Sometimes they want some mental health, sometimes they want to be part of a support group. So seriously, we will really work with anybody who is the need for survivor services in their lives. So in the 24-hour support line, that's when usually we do internal referrals, or we can refer outside depending on where the we have a confidential emergency shelter, and this is for female identifying folks and their families. One of the cool things that we have in our shelter is that we are one of the few shelters in the United States that accepts pet companions that come with the survivors. One of the statistics we found out is that usually it takes a survivor about 2 years more to try to leave because for your best friend, right? And so for us being able, we were able to take 29 pets last year, survivors, so we're very proud of it, and we had about 99 people. So even though it is located in Kent, and it is community living, which comes with different complications, but when people are escaping, we just want to make sure that we have at least, it's 13 rooms, so we don't have that much. But we do, that's why we have to do a lethality assessment to our shelter. And then, after 90 days, we try to put people in we also have a children's program. Children who are over 4 years old and up to 18 years old, where the parent identifies that they need some violence. We have a partnership with some mental health children. And we also have a youth program. Well, we are trying to restart a youth program, at least at shelter. One of our dreams is to continue healthy relationships. But right now we're not able, but we appreciate Amish and other cities helping us to fund all these programs because in the future we really we also have support groups. They can be virtual, they can be in person. And right now we have resumed our Spanish support group aside from our English drop-in support group. And we're going to have a parenting group that's going to start soon. We also have therapeutic services. We have a mental health therapist who, when somebody says again that they need some support, they have a domestic violence lens when it comes. Somebody can already have their own therapist, but they may not have that lens. So we don't really put that as a barrier. If somebody feels that they want to talk to our therapist, we will put them. We have legal and immigration advocacy. So our legal advocate and an immigrant advocate, and the immigrant advocate is part of the legal advocacy team. Help folks try to understand divorce, parenting plans, domestic violence protection orders, child support, what does that look like? The immigrant advocate might also be able to help decide whether or not somebody that can apply immigration relief, T-visas, VAWA petitions, even though we're not attorneys, but at least we try to connect with Northwest Immigrant Rights Project if we identify that someone may have a case. This time around. And mobile advocacy, and I promise this is the last thing I will talk about, well, 2 actually. In mobile advocacy, we have advocates who help with community resources, whatever you are, we wanna connect you with food banks, with different resources around your area you may not know about, breaking leases so that you can flee violence. And inside of the mobile advocacy, we also have the DSHS CSO benefits. When somebody is going to DSHS, which is temporary assistance for needy families, they may disclose to their caseworker that violence, so they get connected with us. And just CSO clients, that's what we call them, DSHS. That's about 800 clients a month that come our way. There's a lot of need that comes, with that program. So, and it is all over Kane, so we're very happy, even though it is a little bit of a wait list sometimes. And also inside of mobile advocacy, we have campus advocacy. We have one of our advocates visit Bellevue College at least once a week, twice a week, whenever we're making sure that they are there. And we also have an advocate who's also at Green River College. So folks can just drop in if they're going to the. And the last thing I want to share is that we also have trainings for community partners, but also for community. In the Washington State, to be an advocate, you need to have at least 30 or 20 hours domestic violence training, and we provide. And we also, any organization who reaches out and wants like a 2-hour one-on-one of what domestic violence is, we're happy to always join them. So the cities, right now, because it's a lot of basically crisis line, we have about, last year, we almost hit 5,000 crisis line calls. So other organizations that we work with, will refer directly. DSHS refers directly internally to us, the 800 people that we're talking about. So we're part of their software, so we see their referrals. And that is all the 10 offices of DSHS. Also, Green River College has their own way to refer, so Bellevue College as well. And the city sometimes, folks like Rita would reach out and like, hey, this potential. Can you reach out? We will do that, but the fastest way is crisis line because it's a 24-hour service and all of us are taking the calls. So you will still be connecting with an advocate instead of waiting for me or someone to read an email.
I have kind of a general question. I used to work with a domestic violence agency in fundraising, and I found it very difficult to raise money. I mean, are you finding that? And how is your fundraising going? It seems like it's an unlimited need, but it's a messy thing, and people don't want to hear about it. And so to raise money for it is difficult. Mhm.
So if somebody learns how to navigate systems. Helper does have numbers that are easy, more tangible, and ongoing. That means a wait list. Have to prioritize protection order over family law that can wait. So that's why we appreciate funding from cities where.
Where are you referring to men? I noticed it said women. You mentioned a women's shelter and
Where are we referring?
Yeah, are there any talks or plans to expand or?
We have detected with other. That would be great to expand. Something where people can have their own unit. Do you miss living with your siblings? No. Can you imagine living with other families in the same house? Share bathrooms and kitchen. So, some stuff comes with it, so we would love to. Units. They have a little bit of more, because it's one of the most traumatic. I also like to expand more to other. 14% of our. So, we want to make sure.
I'm Stephanie Norton Bradel. I'm the executive director of the Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank. And I know I've met some of you before, you for sure, Joyce, and have talked to you about our food programs. But tonight, I'm going to share with you about our case management program. So we have 2 dedicated staff, although we do have a vacancy right now, and 4 volunteers that dedicate about 20 hours a week to our case management program. And through our case management programs, we offer, it's not just case management. I'll talk a little bit about that. So we call it client services and case management. So it could be as simple as emergency food at the door. So if someone comes to us and says, I'm really hungry, this is typically our unhoused population, can I get something to eat? We're able to get sandwiches, snacks, drinks, and provide them for those things in the moment. And people are able to come every day if they need to get those things. We also offer emergency supplies. So that would be things like tents, sleeping bags, tarps, things like that they'll need if they're living outside or living in the cars. We do still have emergency clothing on site, so we don't have a full clothing bank like we have in pre-pandemic days, but we do have a pretty robust emergency clothing closet for those that are living outside or living in their cars. And so it's in the winter, it's things like warm pants, warm jackets, gloves, hats, things, warm socks. We always have underwear, t-shirts and things like that. And then in the summer, we'll specifically get some summer clothes especially for folks that are living outdoors and need to stay cool. We provide bus tickets. Clients can come in once a week and get bus tickets. Now, sometimes we give out 6, sometimes we give out 3. It kind of depends on what our inventory is. We have been in the past participating in Metro's bus ticket grant opportunities, but we found that it was costing us more in labor to take advantage of that grant than it was for us to just purchase the bus tickets. So now we purchase the bus tickets. And I know Metro's trying to work on that to streamline it a little bit, but we were spending way more than we were getting in terms of the time it took for that. But we do still have bus tickets available. And then we also can help folks with like phones or IDs, things like that, if they need help with those types of things. Sometimes it's paying for their storage unit if they've been displaced. We'll do that for a few months. And then the things that are a little more time consuming that falls really into that case management bucket are things like rental assistance, which we do in some circumstances, which I'll explain in a minute. and resource referrals. So we might be talking with somebody who's living in their car or outside in a situation and learn that they are in a domestic violence situation. And so our case manager or one of those volunteers might sit down with them and call Dawn together to get them the services that they need. We've been able to help some folks get housing. We've been able to help people get into shelters, but sometimes they need a little more support than to just hand them a flyer with the information. And then we will offer ongoing case management to folks if they're already utilizing our food bank. So that might be somebody who needs 2 or 3 follow-up appointments. Usually doesn't go on for more than 3 months. It's just to help them with the problem that they're trying to solve, whether it's housing applications or job applications or navigating their Medicaid, that sort of thing. And our staff will help them through that if there's no other agency that's available to help them. We've been working really hard with our partners to try not to duplicate services. And that's where I'm going to talk about the rent assistance. So what we're finding is, I'm sure you're all aware here in Sammamish, that the cost of rent is really, really high. And if you're already a family that's on the edge or someone on the verge of losing your home, losing your apartment, it is now taking 2 or 3 agencies together to be able to help pay that person's rent and prevent them from being evicted. So St. Vincent de Paul and Issaquah Community Services are sort of the major 2 agencies in this area that work on rental assistance, but they'll often call us and say, hey, we're able to get them, 3/4 of the way to getting their rent covered. Can you help with that extra, $300, $400? And we're finding that we're getting more and more calls to help with these sorts of things because there are a lot of people in trouble right now with the high cost of living here in this area. And so we've dedicated a pretty large chunk of our budget to helping with rental assistance this year. It's pretty time consuming for our team. And so we really tried to only support folks that have already gone through these other agencies. But we'll occasionally, and it's part of that is because the other agencies have already done the work of vetting whether this solution is like a one-time thing and it's going to get these people out of this trouble, and they've got a plan for how they're going to be able to pay their rent in the future. And it's really helpful to have that work already in place. It makes us a lot more confident in being able to share our dollars in that way. But there are situations where somebody lives in the region that we serve, but doesn't qualify for ICS or St. Vincent de Paul for some reason. In those cases, we have helped people with their full rental payment. I guess the last thing I'd like to say is, we tend to serve about 23% of those clients are from the Sammamish area. Part of that is because Sammamish has some of the highest rent in the area. And so we do get a lot of requests for rental assistance from folks up in this community. I'm happy to answer questions if you have any questions.
Your vetting process like with people that are applying?
We actually have an application process. Now, if we, and we ask them certain questions, about, their situation, what is their plan, to be able, because you don't want to pay for someone's rent 1 month and then they get evicted the next month. So they need to have some sort of plan for how they're going to be able to take care of their rent in the future. So there's some real basic questions about that. And it's very similar to the same applications that the other agencies have, But if, say, someone has already gone to St. Vincent de Paul and they've already got commitment, because oftentimes it takes all three of our agencies together to make that rent payment. If ICS or St. Vincent de Paul has already done that vetting process, then we trust that they vetted them in the same way that we would, and we go ahead and just help out. But I'll give you an example. We have been getting about 20 requests for rental assistance a month, and we can typically help 3 to 4. So there's a lot of folks out there that need help, and it's really sort of heartbreaking to have to say we can't help you. We give them as many lists of other places they can try. But what we're also finding, and is ICS and St. Vincent de Paul, is that the asks are getting larger and larger because rent is getting higher. And we're really trying to get people to come to us sooner than later, because if they own 2 or 3 months rent, it's going to be really hard for agencies to even be able to help them get out of that situation.
Do you serve all of Sammamish residents or only those that are part of the Issaquah School District area?
And we will serve anyone in Sammamish. Yeah. Yeah, and where it's a little tricky and our numbers are a little harder in case management is we serve a lot of unhoused folks. So for some of those, we don't have a zip code or a city that, and sometimes they'll tell us they're from Sammamish and they're unhoused, or they're staying, like when there was the tent city at Mary Queen of Peace, or, they can be specific about those things, or in a church parking lot, that sort of thing. But sometimes it's really unknown. They could be couch surfing. So we do the best we can to collect that data, but when you're unhoused or unstable, that's a little harder to collect.
I guess, so if you're whittling it down from 20 to 4, then aside from there being a plan, then you don't necessarily have to prioritize applications then in any other way.
Yeah, well, what we typically do is in order. And,
Like first
some
come, first-
requests are for $300 and some requests are for $1,000. And we'll do that until we've used our budget for that month. And we've budgeted about $3,000 a month to help with rental assistance.
Okay. So you take the least amount owed.
Well, we take it in the order that we receive
Oh,
it.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
At one time, providing the sort of social services for the Issaquah Community Service.
We do. We still do that. We provide Issaquah Community Services with $12,000 a year. And part of that is until 2 years ago or so, we very rarely helped with rental assistance.
Yeah.
And we've been sharing those funds with them for a while. But folks were finding that they didn't have enough to cover, and we were getting more and more requests, and there are occasionally those people that fall through the cracks. So we wanted to be able to help those folks when we could, but we have been having a discussion internally about, do we just give ICS more money? What's hard is they have limits each time, so that wouldn't solve the problem of them not being able to meet the whole amount, and the other agency not being able to meet the whole amount. So at this point, we see it as a service that's helping to fill those gaps, so that we can get more people in the community to stability.
Are you still working with the fire department?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Occasionally we get referrals from them too, but they'll typically, so one thing that we're trying to do really work on is in the community, not duplicate services. And so the fire department is pretty good at getting people to ICS and St. Vincent de Paul
Right.
for rental assistance. And then, you know, they come to us as the, like, the third party to fill the discrepancy.
A big program.
Yeah, well, it's bigger than you know, bigger than we thought it would be, and the need is greater than what we can even support. Yeah,
Some of the immigration issues are not very pleasant.
yeah, yeah. We are trying to address that as much as possible and just making sure people feel safe when they come to us. We've given out, I don't know if y'all have seen the little red cards that are, you probably have. They're basically, what do you do, you know, in a situation that you're approached by someone from immigration. It comes in many languages. And we ordered 500 of those cards in Spanish and 500 in English, and the Spanish ones were gone like within a week. And so now we're getting ready to order more. And they used to be free, but the agency that was providing them needed so many, they couldn't provide them for free anymore. So,
Well, thanks for also upgrading the nursing network cards.
oh, yes, yes, yes. Yeah, we worked on that recently with the help of Rita. Yeah.
I feel pantry packs.
Oh, yeah.
job.
Oh, I know. That's amazing. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your information.
Chair, we have, oh, blimey, Chair, we have Commissioner Mishra online. Hello, everyone. Commissioner Mishra, you're online. If you want to show your camera, you can, but otherwise, you can unmute yourself if you want to speak.
Sure, yeah, I will. Thank you so much.
Couldn't hear that. What did she say? Oh, okay. Did you want to add anything, Soumya? Or have any questions?
Yeah, I did hear the presentation. It was very impressive. And I didn't have any further questions. I think you guys covered most of them. So thank you for doing that.
Good. Well, thanks. I'm glad you could join us.
Yes, I'm too. From India. Mhm.
Oh, good connection. Okay, well, our third item of new business is staff reports. Do we have?
Good evening, commissioners. Blimey. Okay, maybe I need to sit back. That's never happened before. Okay, I'll have to sit back. Maybe I should just switch it off. What do you think? This one? Okay. That's, oh, yep, I think that's better. No, not
Okay,
really.
it's too loud.
Is it not too loud? It's like squeaky. I don't know. If there was a cat in here, they'd be freaking out. Oh no. Okay.
Hey, I'm not able to hear the staff report.
All right, sorry, Commissioner Mishra, I'm gonna go again on the microphone. I think that's better. Okay, I will repeat what I just spoke about. So we're meeting with Cross Path Counselling next week. That will be the Deputy City Manager, Mike, myself, and the Parks and Recreation Director. The reason being is that there's a lot of construction happening around their little location down in Lower Commons. So we just want to ease their minds that they're good at their location for the foreseeable future. So we're meeting with Zachary, the clinical director, and David Downing from YES. And that will be next Tuesday. We're also going to be setting up a joint Human Services Commission meeting in the next couple of months. And we're potentially going to be discussing how federal decisions for funding is potentially impacting a lot of nonprofits, particularly homelessness providers. We're definitely hearing from homelessness providers that they're having funding cut federally. And so we think it may be a great idea to like have a joint human services commission with our peer neighbors of Issaquah, Bellevue, Kirkland and Redmond to talk about the impact that's having on our nonprofits. And then next month, we will be meeting with the Sammamish Youth Board leadership team. This is a great opportunity to hear and discuss firsthand what's happening with teens, the needs, and the challenges that they're currently facing. We did have a meeting many, many moons ago. I don't know if you remember Commissioner Bottenberg, but I think it provided a great insight for the Human Services Commission to directly hear from like the Sammamish Youth Board as to what's going on in the community and what they're facing. And that is a short and sweet update on my end. Thank you. And if I'm happy to answer any questions.
Rita, was that on a Tuesday or a Wednesday? Because I think the date that was listed was on a Wednesday or was on a Tuesday. It said Wednesday.
Is that for the Joint Human Services Commission
I
meeting?
believe it was for next month.
Okay, I'm just going. Okay, so I am going to look into, that's a great point. I think that's when the youth board normally meets. I'm going to try and get it onto the Wednesday. And that may have been me as a typo. I don't know. So let me clarify this and then I will definitely send out an email tomorrow first thing clarifying the date. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Any other questions?
When when groups present, are we to address them or?
Great question. So public comment, and I apologize, I should have given you guys all a heads up. When someone comes to give public comment, we do not address them. You know, you just listen to them, you thank them, and that's it. Like, so there's no engagement when someone comes to give public comment. Yeah, yeah. Any other questions?
How many did not fulfill all of their contract dollar reimbursement for this past year?
Oh, that's a great question. You know what? I'm going to be getting the pooled funding reimbursement. So do you want to know the dollar amount or which, or, okay, you know what? Can I bring that to you at the next meeting? And then I can give you a breakdown as to the full dollar amount and then which organizations. I mean, there were some like Attain Housing that after the first year didn't do anything last year because they basically went out of business. And then there were some other organizations, I think Eastside Legal Assistance Program. There were a number of organizations that didn't. So for new commissioners, we do a reimbursement model. And if an organization is not fulfilling their service units or not serving enough residents, then we are not contractually obliged to fully reimburse them. So yes, there is some leftover, like, you know, not fully reimbursed programs. So I'm happy to give that to you at the next meeting.
Everybody knows about the reimbursement timeline and the fact that it's always 3 months out from when they spent the money themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
They've already spent the dollar to try to be reimbursed. So it's hard.
We're, I noticed that there wasn't a dollar amount that any of the presenters provided, like we help this many people with this much dollar amounts, or is that something that was covered like last year?
So no, so these are newly funded programs, so they don't necessarily have that information to hand. But at the end of by April the 10th, so first quarter will be January, February, March, and then by mid-April they have to provide us reporting, and then we're able to like look and see how many residents they're served, and then we reimburse them accordingly. Yeah. Any other questions?
Towards like June and like the summertime, are we doing the same thing as last year where we allocate the grant funds and like joining groups?
Yeah, no, great question. So that's every 2 years that we allocate funding. So this is like our year of learning. And so, Sard, you don't have to read 450 applications. No, it really wasn't that bad, folks, I promise. Yeah, so because that's for 2 years. So the funding decisions you made last year is for 2025 and 2026. So this is a sense of like a year of learning where we try and get lots of nonprofits in, where hopefully, maybe make some site visits. So we're really like trying to like learn so that next year when we get those applications, we're kind of armed with some knowledge. Yeah.
Thank you.
How does a organization realize that there's city money available somewhere around? I don't see any, we don't have newspapers that say, come and ask for money.
Yeah.
And the Seattle Times is not helpful.
Yeah. So like, we have a newsletter, and I think in the past that we've promoted the funding there. We also like I have a very big network, so I will, BCC everyone. Throughout the year, I always say to organizations, like, don't come to me come to me like a year before, because the thing is that when you're looking for city funding, the kind of prerequisites and requirements are super kind of involved, and you really need to have that all set up before you even put your application in. So I will normally I've already spoken to like 2 or 3 nonprofits that Hope Fest. It's very interesting. Last night, Sophia came up to me and said, someone from the Rotary Club, and I was like, "Is that Joyce Bottenberg?" And she said, "Yes." So yeah, I've spoken to them. I think I'll speak to them again to talk about funding.
She'll be a junior in college before she's.
Yes, and so that's why I said, and she did say that she'll bring someone that's going to be taking over that leadership position. But yes, so we are always as staff make ourselves available. We speak to a plethora of different organizations, and I really do walk them through, this is what it means, and this is what it means to get city funding, and this is the type of application, and you need to be a 501c3, and you need to have like, a board of directors, and just really walk them through like, what the requirements are. So yeah.
And it's a joint application to all the cities at the same time.
Yeah, so it's up.
Get the word out.
Yeah, so I mean that's also nice as well, in that like in the past it was like many years ago, like an organization would do individual applications and every city had a different process. So this is nice in that you can like check the box and say, I want to, yeah, out of the 16 cities, this is who I want to apply to. So yeah, it's a lot more cleaner and efficient for organizations. Yeah.
And just so you know, it's about this deep in what we can look at, applications.
Don't, Commissioner Bottomberg, let's not put people off now. We have ways of divvying up the applications, and yeah.
And then, is there a place on the city website that shows where, Human Services Commission has granted?
You know what? That's a great question.
I
Mike,
don't
we
think in recent years.
yeah, I think maybe not this round of funding, but yes, there is a space where like we just have to update that. Yeah.
The Parks Department's newsletter used to add that.
It used to, and it doesn't. Yeah. And but it wasn't a definitive list of the organizations we funded.
It didn't
Um,
give much detail other than
no.
these were the ones that were
Yeah,
funded.
yeah.
Not specific program and not the dollar amount.
Yeah. Sure. That's a great question. So those have always been our like 5 priority areas from when the commission started, and that was based on our needs assessment. And we find that those are just good buckets because every application will fit into one of those buckets. I know other cities have like or follow like United Ways priority areas. We have those priority areas based on our needs assessments that was done many years ago, and so yeah, we've always kept those those 5 buckets, those 5 areas. Yeah.
Is there anything else? Move on to commissioner reports. Do commissioners have anything to report?
Well, besides filling pantry packs for Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank at their warehouse in about 55-degree temperature. So if you see me on Facebook, I'm wearing this crazy hat. And this is what is handed out to the kids by the schools, just to carry them through the weekend. It's pretty amazing. But it's not nearly enough food. I mean, when you take a look at what we're putting in the 12 items to cover them from Friday to Sunday, but it's something more than the family can afford, so makes good sense.
Where is the warehouse? This was
We call it behind Safeway on Gilman Boulevard. It's down that side street. And how would you describe the at-work warehouse?
So is this for Lake Washington or is this for Issaquah?
This is Issaquah.
Oh, Issaquah. Actually, I'm not. Is it by Kidvantage? No.
that's further
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. No, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you hear about the volunteer need?
It's a Rotary project.
Oh, Rotary.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. We just decided within the Community Service Committee that we were going to do some, a monthly Wednesday. They fill the packs every 2 weeks. And so we were down there and we started in January. And they were saying, oh, it's about 4 hours to do this project. You go in at 1 and you could be out by 5. It's like, we're going to beat that kind of a record. And so here are all these crazy Rotarians talking about cruises and all their vacations or whatever else, going down and filling the bucket, then going back and filling then there's the bag wrapper at the end because you have to get so many in a carton, and it's conversation time. And we got done in 2 hours.
Wow.
So the next month, yeah, this is a 6-month project. So, and Hope Fest. If you haven't heard about the Hope Festival, this is a phenomenal program that's run by Eastlake High School. I would say freshman through senior class, and nonprofit, all volunteer. Started about 8 years ago with Tyler, who's now past college and all, and doing phenomenal things, by the way. And what they do during the year is collect things to be able to distribute to people who are needy, all ages. And this year they're doing it at the convention center in Seattle. Last year it was over at the, whatever it is next to the Bellevue Y. What's the name of that one? Anyway, they serve over 1,000 people, and it's a phenomenal program. And their items come through donations. It's clothing, it's books, it's haircuts, it's toys, it's games, it's food, it's hygiene items. They have a lot of great, great energy there. And so when Sophia, was presenting a update on the program to Rotary, of course, they're talking to Rotary because they're wanting some money, and which just will happen. Typically, if we pay for the storage. It was like, why aren't they applying? I didn't know that they, I know that we don't see an application from them, but why weren't they even knowing about it? So told Sophia that yes, Rita can meet with you and tell you what it's all about, and the fact that we just finished our 25-26 but something will come. You can apply in the spring of 26 for the 27-28 years. Just, 28, good grief, it's getting, wow. Anyway, and the Lens of Youth, the group today, that was kind of interesting that they wanted to let us know about their program. Because that came out just with your email there. That's it. I'm taking Tai Chi still on Wednesday mornings with the old folks.
Okay, anyone else? So for our next meeting, the agenda topics, we're talking about the youth board. And to clarify whether it will be Tuesday or Wednesday. Okay.
That will be clarified tomorrow. Yeah.
Some information on any agencies that didn't fulfill their contracts or were not fully reimbursed for the contract period of ending last year. And then, and so that was one of the things, the Tuesday or Wednesday for April, that for the long-term calendar. Was there any other questions on the long-term calendar that we needed to discuss? The Joint Human Services on Wednesday, May 14th is still in progress.
Yeah, that's still in progress. And I think just coordinating with like 4 other cities, it's always a little bit of a logistical nightmare. But we shall persevere, and that's not set in stone. But as soon as we hear, we will definitely pass that on.
Was there any other business?
So what do you think about CrossPath? Do you think they will be able to stay there long-term?
I think for the foreseeable future that they're good. Yeah. So I think they'll get some clarity, on Tuesday when we meet with them, because that's not really my, area of expertise. But yeah.
I haven't driven down there to Lower Commons and on the road. It used to be a nicely paved road that came off. Well, now it's not. And then you turn into where you can park for the Lower Commons. And then you go down to the very end and do a turnaround at CrossPath. It's like, they are the best kept secret in town. And I know there's no promises, we hear from Kaylee about a garage type thing that's Issaquah does so successfully, which would be a phenomenal thing for Sammamish to have for youth. And it's like everything is finally developing, but not fast enough. At an end of editorial, Mike.
Is it road construction for new home construction? That
It's
is,
all the brownstones, all the apartment. What's the name of the complex? Anyway, it was a big hole for a while, and then it was a big pile of dirt for a while, and now you can see some concrete down in the base. And it's amazing that they're turning this no man's land into something that's going to be, what, 4-story, 6-story apartments and condos. Finally.
so it makes it hard to get to CrossPath? Or is it just kind of isolating them?
If you're
behind?
walking, you can just slide down the hill, but yeah, from either the Y or from up near Sky Apartments, there's a road that's going to be coming down to cross path from there.
Hmm.
It's walkable. But the service they provide is phenomenal. And we did it.
Okay, is there anything else? Then should we call the meeting adjourned?